Los Angeles, I'm and most Hollywood nights. She goes to California, oh, California.
What you say about Los Angeles?
LA got the people saying.
You're listening to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. Welcome to Corner of the Galaxy, the show that talks 100% LA Galaxy soccer. We're glad you could join us. Now it's time to sit back and relax as your hosts navigate through the twisting, turning, but never boring world of the five-time MLS Cup champion, LA Galaxy.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. I'm your host, Josh Guesman, coming to you on a Thursday, August 11th. LA Galaxy getting ready to face off against the Vancouver Whitecaps. A Riqui Puig-less press conference thingy that happened today, which was a little weird. We're going to talk about Greg Vanney. He talked about a bunch of things. I think we're going to be able to clear up some things, tell some stories, give you some backstory on a whole bunch of things as well. And then the Vancouver game, All-Star, all that fun stuff is coming up for you right now. To help us right now on this wonderful day, he's back and wearing a very sharp polo. I must say, it's the hammer himself, Mr. Eric, the Portuguese Hammer Vieira. Eric, how's it going, buddy?
It's going great. I'm feeling very comfortable, very light, very airy in this Corner of the Galaxy company polo here. As I like to come to the podcast to escape work life, but somehow this feels like I'm going to work, put on the uniform, put on the polo, going to work. But credit to you, sir. Good quality shirt.
Yes,
it's forgiving in the size department. So.
It's a Cadillac of a shirt.
Yeah,
let's not lie. The Panda ordered XXL, and I would imagine it like comes down to his knees and he swims in it a little bit. So I just
a COG nightgown. I'm interested. Put it in the shop.
Let's make it happen. A night shirt, right? Did you used to do like anytime anybody got you like a really big shirt, like it was some throwaway shirt or something, you would end up like sleeping in it, and then you still have that shirt even right now. You've never thrown it out. It's like now 35 years old.
The funny thing is those are now my wife's shirts.
Oh, so she steals them.
She's the shirt stealer in this house. So yeah, what's mine is hers. That's what you get when you get married. Those things happen. But yes, that has happened. Unfortunately, I find myself growing out of some shirts in some cases. So maybe I need to go in the other direction. Yeah.
I was getting ready. I was at work today. I was getting ready to go eat. And I had been waiting to try to eat because I was trying to finish stuff up. And I'm waiting. And finally, I'm like, I have to go eat. I go, my stomach is getting bigger every day. And that means it has more and more control over my life. So I'm going to eat right now. So that's that's the state of mind I'm in right now. Just fall right into it. Just let it happen.
Yeah. And that's why, I'm just going to lean into it. Yeah. It's one of those I think XL, if I could remain in the XL.
That's great.
I don't have, just don't, when I get to that 2X, then maybe I'll
well, especially
fire the alarms. But as long as I can just stay in the range, I'll be okay.
Especially here in the United States, the XL basically just keeps growing with you, right? It's just vanity size, and they just keep making it bigger. These. Yeah, exactly. Those shirts are giant. I actually tried to shrink mine, like hot water, as hot as you could in the wash in the dryer and stuff like that. It didn't work. It's one of those shirts that won't even shrink. So.
Well, yeah, the material it's good quality.
It's good quality.
A testament to the quality,
of course,
of the big boss man there. So thank you, sir. Hope you're well.
I'm something. I'm probably better than Chicharito, who thought he was only going to play 30 minutes and ended up playing 45 minutes at the All-Star game. Thanks, Adrian Heath.
Yeah, that was weird, right?
That's super sketch, though.
Yeah.
Like, because, and we're going to talk about it. Greg Vanney talked about it in his press conference as well. But he said, I asked him, because I was like, we haven't asked about Chicharito and Julian Araujo, whether they're back and whether they'll be available and all this fun stuff. And Vanney goes, I expected Julian, as soon as he said, I expected Julian to start 45 minutes, I'm like, oh yeah, he's ticked that Chicha went more than 30 minutes. And he goes, you saw Chicha start to take the armband off at the All-Star game in Minnesota. And then all of a sudden he had to put it back on because he was still on the field. So he was I think he the only forward that played 45 minutes for whatever reason, Adrian Heath, and he didn't think he was playing 45 minutes. The announcers thought that the forwards were playing 30 minutes. Like, everybody thought they were playing, except for Adrian Heath.
You ready for the tinfoil hat?
I'll put it on. This is All-Star games are made for tinfoil hats.
The puppeteer, Don Garber, versus Liga MX. You needed to have Chicharito out there for at least a half. So maybe the directive was 30 minutes, but Don Garber, the czar, overruled. He says, no, Chicharito gets 45. Well, you will like it.
I'm pretty sure that they had to have the fourth official tried typing in the 14 and it wouldn't even let him put it in. Right? It was like Garber had already he messed with the chip, so the voting couldn't be. That's how it
hacked.
Was.
Yeah, it was hacked.
It was hacked. Yeah. That's what it was. So yeah, if you miss the All-Star game, you didn't miss much. If you miss the skills competition, they really tried to make it like exciting. They tried to make it entertaining, and at least for me, Eric, I found it to be neither of those things. Would you? What say you, good sir?
And I'm the guy who's been in the corner of the skills competition for a long time,
right?
Because when it started in Orlando, I thought the way they set up the competitions and the teams and kind of how they had everything going, I thought it was exciting. I thought it was a lot of fun. And as it grew, I was like, okay, I'm not going to hate on it. It's a spectacle. It's a big thing. And even last year, I felt like it looked good. But this year, for whatever reason, it just didn't have, I don't know if it's the players involved or something else that was going on. It just didn't have that same spark, that same magic. And I think it might have to do with personalities. Last year, you had Jorge Campos go out there in his chanclas, and it just felt a little more personal, like they were having a little bit more fun. I think if you're going to lean into something like a skills competition, lean all the way in, make it wacky, make it silly, bring in, the mascots, do something a little crazy. And I think it was missing that extra element of fun. It was basically just training drills, which at the end of the day, that's all they are. They're glorified training drills.
Right.
But you can add some pizzazz, for lack of a better word. Like it was missing an extra oomph. So this year it fell a little flat for me.
It felt way. I mean, I think there's only so many times you can watch a guy like Emmanuel Reynoso, who is an excellent soccer player, unable to hit a stationary target 12 yards in front of him. I'm sitting there going, literally, I can do that. I know I can do that. Like, this is something I can do. I don't care if there's people watching me. I could hit somebody. It's like when you get further away, I'm starting to worry. But that was horrible. Like, some of these guys, it was embarrassing. You're like, really? Are you professionals?
Well, that's where I push back, because when you're in the pressure cooker, I think for the layperson,
what pressure cooker?
I think of just being in a stadium, all eyes on you.
All-Star
you're
game.
On TV. But the counterpoint is these guys are professional athletes. They play on TV all the time. They're in full stadiums all the time, so they shouldn't feel that. So I can go on there and I could do that. I'd push back the average guy who says that. But the counterpoint is Reynoso's played in plenty of full stadiums in his home stadium. So I hear you. Yeah, definitely. Some players get exposed a little bit in those competitions, which actually was my fear for Chicharito.
Right.
Because I thought he was going to be in the target competition, but he wasn't. So I was actually worried that he wasn't going to have a good showing, but he actually had a pretty decent showing.
He was fine.
So, it was, you're right. It was fine. It was what it was.
He didn't embarrass himself. It was fine. I like how it's like all these things matter, except the crossbar challenge at the end matters more than all the rest. It's just like, well, then why?
Last goal wins.
Yeah, it's like, well, then why didn't you just say that? Like at the end, it's like, the whole deal. So anyway, so they did that. The All-Star game went out there. The MLS All-Stars, in case you didn't watch, won 2-1 over the Liga MX All-Stars there. Chicharito played 45. Julian Araujo played 45. I know a lot of people were saying, oh, Julian Araujo's getting run past and run over. I didn't have any problems with how he played. He played fine. They didn't score on him in that half. They were under a lot of pressure, for sure. Dane St. Clair, the Minnesota United goalkeeper, actually won the MLS, the All-Star game MVP, in the home stadium, and also had a bunch of saves because he was under fire there for a little while, but did fine. Chicharito, by the way, he played. He was good for 30 minutes. The last 15 minutes, he was like, "Why am I still out here?" Which is the correct answer for that. And people are saying that he didn't play well. Again, I think he suffered from the same thing that he has with the LA Galaxy, which was a lack of service. And the MLS All-Star scored in the second minute? Was it?
It was pretty.
Yeah, it was really early.
It's pretty early on. And also, are we going to talk about? I know you don't have the image queued up because we're not going to do that.
Let me talk about the play first, and then you can tell. Then you can say thing. But on the goal, by the way, and Mr. Pavone gave us a $5 super chat, says, happy back to school edition of COG. Yeah, kids starting to go back to school. Things are starting to heat up, Well, I mean, it's hot again. Somebody had pointed out, they're like, and this had to do with college football, right? And they're like, man, it's the fall whenever it's October and your wife is just pumping out those pumpkin spice latte candles. It's too hot, but you don't want to pretend that like it's too hot. And so you're just going to pretend that it's fall already. And the whole day, and you're watching, the Ohio State Buckeyes, right? Like the whole day. And
you hear the Fox Sports music cue. Yeah.
I was sort of like, I am in that way. And we always do this as we start to hit September. We're like, well, it must be fall. It must be fall. And it's like, no, it's still 100 degrees outside. But hey, get those pumpkin candles lit up,
Pumpkin spice is just around the corner. Yeah.
That's right. We're almost there. So anyway, thank you for the super chat. But so on the first goal, Carlos Vela scored. That's really not the story. If you watch the play, it's Chicharito who opens up the whole play for Carlos Vela. He starts on the back shoulder, and he makes a run around Carlos Vela and in. And in doing so, he takes his defender with him, and he takes Carlos Vela's defender that steps forward on him. Chicha was open. If the ball would have came to him, he could have headed that ball into the goal. But it went over him and found Carlos Vela, who was now suddenly basically unmarked because Chicha dragged two players inside on him. And it's like, that's the type of stuff that Chicha never gets recognition for. And I love TT. He's a good friend of mine and stuff like that. But I'm pretty sure he had his eyes closed on that whenever he walked in there to not say, what a great run by Chicharito, what a great movement, because that's what he does. That is his signature right there.
What I hear from you is you are arguing in favor of the 4-4-2 and opening up Dejan Joveljic to do that. But I was not coming in expecting that homer of a take that Carlos Vela scored, but Chicharito really gets all the credit. So kudos to you. It's really impressive. But you're right. You're right. You could argue that he missed the header, but it did go over him, and it opened up the space. So you're 100% fair. I wasn't expecting it, but you're right. But the story comes after the goal. Yes. The first two players to run and celebrate with Carlos Vela are Chicharito and Julian Araujo, and it just gave for the most odd image of all of them smiling, and it's just like, oh my, this just feels wrong to see the three of them embracing and smiling. And these guys get along. Chicharito and Vela have gotten along. They've been good friends for years, so that's not surprising. So, but it was just so weird to see them embracing, and I put it on Twitter and got a lot of people just doing the vomit emoji. Didn't feel really safe about it, and then of course a lot of the El Tri Mexican national team fans saying, yep, all three of these guys will not be going to Qatar. But here they are lighting up MLS All-Star and Liga Mx. So, fun times.
I mean, how it must feel a little uncomfortable though for El Tri to see those three guys like sort of be involved in a play that beats the local league, right? I mean,
yeah.
We can say what we want about this All-Star competition. We can say whether or not it gets taken seriously. I thought it got taken seriously that Darlington Nagbe almost had his ankle amputated during the lay.
Yeah,
that's a red
nice
card.
I mean, not nice, but like that was a real tackle.
That was a real tackle. And I'm always like, we don't need to be playing real games in the middle of these things. But if you look at sort of what happened, I think 1.4 million people watched it on TUDN is what I saw, on like 300,000 on ESPN or something like that. I so blocked out the ESPN numbers because they weren't relevant to what we're talking. But 1.4, and somebody pointed out this is why there's going to be a Leagues Cup next year. It's like, yeah, because it's going to be huge in Mexico. It's going to be, I imagine it. I'm actually kind of excited for it. I do like a full format tournament. I just wish it wasn't in the middle of a league. Like it feels wrong in that way, but yeah. I'm sure I will enjoy it.
It's competitive. It's competitive games, and I think when you say they're meaningless friendlies, they lose a little bit of it, like the Chivas game. But when you make put a trophy at the end of it, and all of a sudden you have a competitive game. I think it was they had the Argentina played Italy, and I forget what they called the cup. But all of a sudden there's a new competition where the European champs play the South American champs one game, but they're tournament champs, even though it was just one game and you play these games. And Messi is now top of the list because he won this international trophy. It's like, well, it's just one game. You could have just called that a friendly, but you put a trophy on it, all of a sudden it's competitive and you get that cachet. So I think that's, whether you love it or hate it, putting it in a competitive format, giving it a trophy, giving those bragging rights, I think you will see some good competitive games next season.
Yeah, it was interesting. Chicharito and Julian Araujo both getting starts at the beginning of that, so that was fun to sort of watch there. My only coverage that I provided for the All-Star game was basically just injury watch. I was just making sure nobody got injured, and then whenever Greg Vanney commented today on Chicha playing 15 more minutes and Chicha being surprised by it and Greg being surprised. Greg, by the way, said that both of those guys will be fine and both should be available for Saturday. I'm very interested to see if Vanney uses this as an excuse to start Joveljic over Chicharito because I would. There, how about that? I'll just stop with that. I would. Whenever
it would make sense.
Yeah,
it would make sense.
One of the other things that sort of popped up was Julian Araujo. Julian Araujo is the first player born in the 21st century to start for the MLS All-Star team. I don't know if that makes me feel good. He was born August 13th, 2001. So he's the youngest player, basically out on the field to have started, in the 21st century. That's a crazy. I don't know if I like that stat, but it's there, and there you have it.
I think that's one of those things that it happened when after we're having people who are reaching adulthood now who are not born after September 11th. That's kind of like one of those, core memories that people have, and he kind of falls into that category. So you're right. We're not getting any younger, Josh. So a stat like that does make you feel a little bit old, especially when you see these players come up and then maybe retire. You're like, wait, I was his age. I was kind of this guy's age, and now they're old and they're retired. So I understand where you're coming from with it. But the one thing that surprised me is MLS has historically had a lot of young talent.
Right.
And so that did surprise me that he was the youngest All-Star that's been on the team. I feel like there's been younger stars on the rise.
There may have been younger, but he's the first person to play who was born in the 21st century, the 2001. So that's the youngest
That's
part
the rub.
there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then that's why I was confused, and that's why you're there to correct me.
I've got you. No problems. We got you locked down for this one. By the way, if you notice any of the graphics shifting to the right during this, apparently every time I click on one, it then shifts to the right. We haven't figured out why. So I'll be slowly fixing that, but I'm watching it as I click on graphics, slowly climb across the screen every time I click on it. So it's just an interesting little thing that's going on apparently.
Yeah.
So
I was trying not to address the elephant in the room because a lot of people consume this via audio and not visually, but the pre-production meeting, here we go.
Yeah.
was a lot of fun watching Josh just mash buttons and yell, and that's not part of the family show. What was happening before we went live? Him trying to smash buttons and get things aligned here. It was working for a little bit, but it seems like we're back. There we go. Now we're back.
It just keeps sliding. Like after I'm done clicking on this, you will slide back over again for whatever reason. Who knows what it is? All right. So you get through the All-Star game. Everybody basically comes out uninjured. Chicha, they both play 45 minutes. Greg Vanney says they'll both be available. That's all good news. Now, interesting thing happened today. So there was the plan for Riqui Puig to be announced to the media today. And then we got a note, I think a little bit later, and it said, hey, it's going to be Greg Vanney and select players, which was interesting again, because it was like, wait, wasn't it supposed to be Riqui? We were supposed to talk to Riqui and the whole thing. And it was like, no, it's not. I'm like, I'm betting it's visa related and the whole deal. What I actually think happened, and this is an interesting part, as Eric apparently won't hold still for whatever reason. What's interesting on all this is that usually, even if there's no visa, we can talk to a player about this stuff. And so when we look at some of these things and we go through and we're like, okay, so it must mean that Ricky's not even there, which judging from what Greg Vanney was sort of saying throughout the entire press conference, that seems to be the case. Okay, it seems to be that Riqui was not in the building and that they were actually actively going to get him to places to go to get the visa. I don't know if he had to go out of the country in order to do it. I would expect he doesn't. But Vanney made he alluded to the fact that he had to travel some distance in order to, and it didn't sound like by car, like in traffic in LA. It's like, well, he's got to go to, downtown LA and it's, 3:00 and, that's going to take 4 hours.
I was I heard Taylor Swift has a private jet available if
right.
you make that trek across town.
Right. Exactly. It wasn't Taylor Swift. That was, it was one of the Kardashians.
Then
did T Swift
started
do it
revealing
too?
you're not up on this, Josh?
No, I'm sorry.
I thought this was because this was Taylor Swift related. Sorry. Tangent. Hold your horses, folks.
Okay.
Then people started, looking up flight logs, and Taylor Swift actually had the most miles logged, and she had to come out and say, well, it wasn't all me. I was lending the plane out. So
That's true.
Yeah,
by the way,
big drama. Big drama.
If you own a private plane, you should lend it out because
It's not
it's sitting
worth
on
it.
the ground does not help anybody out. It actually, it's worse. It needs to be in the air flying. By the way, $20 super chat from Herb. Herb, it's nice to have you in the live chat and here on a live show. So we certainly appreciate it. He says, "Hey Josh, props on the new intro graphics." Herb, I'll tell you, I think that's what screwed up the whole computer, so we got to figure that one out. He goes, shout out to the Hammer as always as well. So there's Herb. Thank you for that $20. We appreciate it.
I was going to say, usually we get injury time, Herb, not make it in, but he's here early. It's given to the super chat, so we appreciate you, Herb. Always like seeing you in the chat.
Yeah, it's certainly interesting. By the way, Feel the Berm says the fee to expedite a P1A visa with the USCIS is $2,500. This guarantees an administrative action is taken within 15 days. So that's 3 weeks, by the way. 15 days is not 2 weeks. 15 days is 3 weeks because that's working days. Trust me.
That's right. Government.
Yeah,
government buildings. Yeah.
Don't you dare count the weekends. And Feel the Berm says you do not need to leave the country to change visa status if you are already in the country on a valid visa. There's some other stuff. That sort of happens, but I'm telling you right now, wherever he had to go was not close. So maybe they got an appointment up in Santa Barbara. Maybe they got an appointment in San Francisco because they couldn't get one down here. However it was, they found an appointment and they got him to it the earliest they possibly could. That's sort of sometimes. Did you ever go? Whenever you got your driver's license, you're a SoCal guy. So whenever you went to like the DMV, did you go DMV shopping for like?
Yes.
Yeah, of course you did.
You look for your shortest wait, or you go for the biggest one that's going to have the most windows. Yeah, it requires a lot of.
Right.
Yeah, a lot of planning, a lot of pre-planning.
This is normal stuff. If you said that same thing to my wife, she would look at you like you're crazy because she grew up in the sticks in Southern Maryland, and she's like, you went to the only place that you could, and you had to drive 30 minutes to get there. It's like, oh, okay, sorry. Which
again, tangent. But from the move out here, there's so many people, moving into Texas that getting an appointment here, they were 3 months out at the earliest. So same issue here. You have to go shopping around to find your earliest available. So
that's
same thing. Same thing happened over here. People are people, man.
People are people. Good way to go. That should be a T-shirt. People are people.
Peace, world peace, and we need your votes.
Yeah. So if we want to go through the Greg Vanney press conference, there was a lot of stuff. The main thing was obviously on Riqui and the visa. Possibly they're getting it today or tomorrow, which means possibly he could be available on Saturday. Vanney said he was hopeful. He used hopeful in a not very hopeful way when he said it. He's like, hopeful, like almost questioning the hopefulness. So in act, it almost cancels out the hopefulness if you're not hopeful about the hopefulness, right? So
yeah, but it's probably the quickest turnaround of in recent memory if the visa is able to clear. But he was in the facility recently, so it's not like he didn't arrive. I know the people greeted him at the airport, and he was training. I think you were mentioning he's off to the side, so it's not like he's
off to the side. Please use that in quotation marks. That dude is training. All right, yeah. We all know it.
But I'm saying it's not like he's in the Bermuda Triangle. Like he's around here in the area somewhere. He's just finalizing that deal. The one thing that I would argue is it wouldn't hurt to give him 30 minutes. Because he hasn't really gotten a preseason, may not be in midseason form. So to get him out there, get the run of the legs before giving him a full start and getting him going. If the visa clears, I wouldn't be against seeing him get some minutes. Obviously, I don't think starting him right away might work, but I think giving him some minutes isn't crazy.
Greg said that if he was going to play, if he gets his visa, he'll be available to play on Saturday. If he's going to play, he's going to come off the bench. That's what Greg already sort of laid that out. So Greg called him, a vibrant, really nice, and vibrant was his exact word. I wanted to make sure. Vibrant, like really nice, really confident player. If you've seen any of the videos of him, by the way, I'm going to steal this from Brendan in our Discord, who called him a Disney character. He looks like a Disney character. He does. Yeah. Like this looks like an actor playing a soccer player part. And like in one of those bad soccer movies where you can tell they've never played before.
Yeah.
Right. But like that's the kind of act he can clearly play. All right. I don't know if he can play to the level everybody expects him to play. But he's a real soccer player. I just want you to he looks like this is a fashion shoot, and it's not his fault. I'm not saying he's doing anything.
Don't apologize for being handsome, Riqui Puig. That's not right. But to your point, I agree with you. He does look like the Disney Channel version, like they're going to come out with this show. He does look like the teen that you would cast to be the young heartthrob on that show. And that's the one thing, talk about the Julian Araujo news making you feel old. You look at him speak and you see him, and it's like he's just a child, and obviously with the Barcelona experience, and that's not a knock on him, but he looks very young, very young.
Right.
I'm putting an accent, the Puig accent on the word young. He just looks very young, like you said, vibrant. I can totally see how that comes through, but he looks very small, very young, and so we'll see how that works. On the field, because I know MLS can be a physical league, and I know that is one of the things in the scouting report that he can get. If the other players play physical against him, that's where it gets a little bit tricky with him. But watching some of the highlights and seeing some of the scouting, he's very quick on the ball and is able to maneuver. So I'm actually looking forward to him. I have a lot of hope. I don't know if I'm going to say hopeful the same way Vanney does, but I feel good about it. He's not an actor playing a soccer player. I'm seeing that fun there. He's a soccer player who would look good as an actor.
Right. He's Andrew Shue, right? Aaron pointed it out. And I was thinking that I was going to mention that eventually. But Aaron in the chat room says he's Andrew Shue. In some ways, yes. In a lot of ways, he's way better than Andrew Shue ever was or ever will be.
Andrew Shue never got minutes at Barcelona, so there's that. You know what he looks like? If they remade the movie Ladybugs, which they would never remake in 2022,
right?
He looks like he would be the actor you would cast. What is it? Jonathan Landis? Was that the guy in that?
It may have been.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Rodney Dangerfield. That was it's a classic movie. But I don't think that could ever get made today, though.
The other thing, the Troy McClure, he was High School Musical. I can't. High School Musical hits too close to home. I can't.
That's pretty spot on.
Get your head in the game. Get your head in the game. I'm not going to turn the camera on me as I'm crying and laughing.
Good times.
I asked a little bit about. I asked Greg Vanney a little bit during the press conference how they got to Riqui Puig. Riqui Puig. I'm going to call him Puig for like forever. And so
that's unfortunate. You have. Yesel Puig here for so many years. That's burned into your memory. You can't look at that name and not say it. Even Don Garber said it yesterday.
Yeah.
But I hear you. Moving on.
Everybody just says Riqui, by the way.
Yeah.
Everybody just goes to Riqui. I'm going to do that too. So I asked Greg about Riqui and sort of how he came to be. And so here's Greg Vanney. We'll actually hear from Greg here. And they had the audio was really quiet. I think this is one of the loud parts, so I think we'll be able to hear it fine. But if not, I'll come back and I'll tell you what it is. But here's Greg talking about how they located and found Riqui.
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, we were in this window looking at a couple things. One was to get Gaston here, who we had tried to do for a year and change. That we were able to solidify pretty early on. The second piece was if we could get to one more, which we were really trying to get to a number 10, if that was possible. We were in conversations with a couple different opportunities. We had dropped, I think Jovan and the guys had dropped in with Barcelona, who they have, some contacts there about certain players. And Riqui being a number 10, he wasn't in the team all the time. It was sometimes it's a little bit of a long shot, but if you don't swing, you don't know. That was the same idea we had at Toronto when we got Giovinco. If you don't take a swing, you'll never know if you can get it done. And so the pieces worked together. He was a young man that they were looking to get to somewhere else to get games to play. He saw the project and his family saw the project as something that was really beneficial and exciting for him. And at the end, we had the ability to move Ryan, which was to open up essentially what became like a Max TAM spot, essentially, which was if you're interested and you want to come, this is what we have, and this is what the process and the program would look like for you. We see you as a number 10. We see you as a guy who can help really orchestrate our final attacks, who's we think can grow in our environment, because we will be more dependent on him in those final actions and to develop that part of his game than maybe he would be if he were at Barcelona, per se. That's not the role he's expected to play at Barcelona, which is to be the final passer, the playmaker, and all that kind of stuff. But he comes here, and he's that guy for us and can really, I think, grow in that space. Some of the agents that worked with him, they're very aware of, the time that I've spent with Victor, and Victor working with us in Toronto and here, so they are very aware of the style of play that we like to play and how I manage and how I work with the players. And and our training environment and all that stuff. So for them, the agents thought this was a great position for the young man. The family saw it as a really good opportunity. And Riqui was super excited. And so then the pieces fit together. And for us, we were excited because, these are not situations that happen often. And when they do, it's pretty amazing. And obviously we were able to pull through, and he's had dinner with them and his family the other day, and he's been around here, and he just has this nice youthful energy, but also this, there's just a passion to play, and obviously the ability will speak for itself when he gets on the field. That's nice to have in our group.
All right, there goes Greg Vanney talking a little bit about Riqui and all that he can bring to the table with this. Let's clear up some things. You want to kill some. We're going to kill a couple different rumors tonight, but let's kill the first one.
Well, let me jump in just immediately following Vanney's comments there. This is actually why I hate Greg Vanney, is because he told me everything that I wanted to hear, and I don't like that because then the players go out on the field and they don't execute what he tells me, and that's where the frustration comes, because that's exactly what we need. We need the number 10. We need the playmaker. We were just seeing it in the chat. Chicharito isn't going to get the service that he was getting in the sales competition at the Galaxy games, but a player like Puig is going to be a player who can come in and hopefully provide that service. And to Vanney's point, that's not the role he was asked to play at Barcelona, but that's not to say that he can't do that role in MLS and succeed and thrive in that role here. And I think that's what the expectation is. That's been a huge gap that the Galaxy have been missing. And so when you tell me that, you're telling me this is checking all the boxes. This is the final piece. This is what the Galaxy need. But now I just know we're going to go out on the field, and we can talk about X's and O's and game planning and what actually ends the end product. But what Vanney said is music to me. That's exactly like if you were to craft what do I want the coach to tell me? It was exactly what Vanney said. So that's a positive, that he's in line with kind of what I feel is what the fans want to see and what, the pieces that are missing on the field. So I'm looking forward to that, but I just want to see it. I want to see it on the field and see it work out, see that game plan come to fruition.
I mean, if nothing, it tells you that, and I do this all the time, is that are you gauging the way that Vanney thinks correctly, right? Like,
yeah.
we all sit there and we say, this is what you need, and Vanney comes out and says, we're going to get a defensive midfielder. Well, yeah, he wanted to get a DM, and then he wanted to try to get a 10. He thought it was more important to get the DM than the 10, not knowing what 10s would be available. It's kind of hard to say. Eventually, now you can go and look and say, well, getting Puig at a Max TAM deal, which, let's be very clear, I asked Greg Vanney about this as well. I asked him about Puig taking a pay cut, because realistically, he was making $3.3, $3.5, $4 million with Barcelona. He's going to make a maximum of $1.625 or $1.6125 million dollars. That's it, maximum. Vanney said it was a Max TAM deal. Not only that, but as it keeps going, that Max TAM deal is now set in for 3.5 years. That's not a Max TAM deal that should balloon to a designated player next year. In fact, it can't, because it's averages across the entire set what kind of player it is. So realistically, Riqui is just going to make Max TAM, Max TAM, Max TAM. Now that's supposed to go up a little bit every year, and so he can make a little more money, a little more money, a little more money. But he's not going to be a designated player, which means the LA Galaxy got a 22-year-old Barcelona player on a free transfer for Max TAM. Now, either that means that, as somebody who is very well connected in the world of football told me, why does Barcelona give a player away for free? What did they see with him?
Yeah.
And there's some knocks on him, right? There's some knocks, and he's going to wear the number 6, by the way. I don't know if everybody saw the graphics and all that, but he's wearing the number 6, which everybody assumed because he wore 6, I think, for Barcelona, and then Ryan Rivelson when it was wearing 6, and he got transferred out. So it's really simple. Yeah, he's wearing 6.
Yeah, easy swap.
That's actually why they transferred out Ryan Rivelson. Somebody asked me that. Is that
he
why?
Wouldn't give up the number. Yeah,
he wouldn't give up the number, so they got rid of him. And so you have that part of it in there. He has some knocks against him. Apparently, in Barcelona, he was known to party off the field as a young man. I can kind of understand that. Now, is that good that you put him in the same locker room with somebody like Douglas Costa, who also perhaps likes to party? Is it good that you put him in the same locker room as Chicharito? Is it good that you put him in the same locker room as Victor Vasquez? Now, here's the Victor Vasquez rub. We all heard the story. We all read the ESPN report. Basically said that Victor Vasquez helped to recruit Riqui. Totally false. Not true at all.
You mean he wasn't on the line?
No.
Wheeling and dealing?
No, he wasn't like, hey, Riqui, you're so fine. I made a Kevin Baxter joke, and I apologize so profusely. He did. So Victor, and I've heard this directly from Victor's mouth. I don't have the audio to play, but I've heard this. Victor said, no, it's not true at all. He talked to him after he signed and said, hey, if you need anything, I'm here, whatever you need. That type of thing, as you would as a teammate, which is like, you're coming from Spain. I played there. I know I'm from Spain. I will help you in any way that I can, type of thing. That's what you would expect from Victor Vasquez. He did that. He wasn't out there jumping up and down going, hey, Riqui, come on over here. Let me tell you all about Greg Vanney. But Vanney does indicate that agents knew about Vanney's style and they knew about Victor Vasquez playing for Greg Vanney. And that took into some consideration, but it wasn't like Victor Vasquez was out there recruiting, which was, I think, the hope for some people.
But I think that's where the lines got crossed, is because, like you're saying, it seemed like they were selling on him, hey, if you're going to come here, you're going to play number 10. If you're going to come here, this is the money that's available. So it seems like there was a sales pitch to him. So I'm willing to bet everything I own that part of that sales pitch is, hey, we have a guy who used to play for Barcelona also, Victor. And I'm sure that's where probably the lines got crossed, that Victor Vasquez was used to recruit him. His name was probably thrown out there as part of the sales pitch.
Right.
That's what I would assume is what happened.
Well, I mean, and you have to understand that that's how like things get twisted a little bit. It's like, oh, well, Victor had played for Greg Vanney, so we knew Victor. And so Victor helped in the whole thing. Well, no, not really, but indirectly, yes, those types of things. And that's how you can sort of get it. By the way, the Disney Channel shows that keep being dropped in the chat room are starting to, the Hey Riqui is a Hey Jesse.
No, I thought that was because of your Hey Riqui.
Hey
So
Riqui.
fine.
No, because
Hey Riqui.
Hey Riqui, I guess I thought it was Hey Jesse from the Disney Channel, which also works, by the way, because he could have his own TV show about how he was a nanny, and that was just
You lost me there.
okay. You haven't watched that one?
I was not in on that one.
Okay, I'm sorry. I apologize. It's okay. The chat room will back me up. I know I'm not crazy. I know I've watched the show many, many times. You're talking about a Disney Channel person with an 11-year-old and a 2.5-year-old. I am fairly well acquainted with the
You're
Disney
well
Channel.
versed.
So anyway, with Victor Vasquez and stuff like that was false, right? In fact, it was total BS, as somebody put it, right? And the whole deal. So that didn't happen that way. Let's talk about the other rumor that sort of got squashed, but it did and it didn't. Let's tell a story first about Gareth Bale and Douglas Costa and Cristian Pavone, and then let's tell you how it was talked about today. So there was an Instagram post that came out that basically said the LA Galaxy had a chance to get Gareth Bale, but they picked Douglas Costa instead, and sort of hinted that it was because of timing that Costa was able to come in the winter and that Bale wouldn't be able to come the summer, and the Galaxy were like, oh, that's a better deal. However that looks, okay. I know where that story came from. Not only do I know how that story was posted, but I know who told that story and the whole deal. I also talked to people. I also talked about that story. I got the whole thing. I got a little different take on that, which was basically this. We know about Cristian Pavone. We know the LA Galaxy just this last winter were interested in bringing back Cristian Pavone. So they had everything all set up.
I was going to say, Greg Vanney, even in his opening press conference, said he was excited to work with a player like Pavone.
Right,
so
right.
It seems like that was a done deal or very close to.
Eric, what day did that introductory press conference happen? Do you remember?
I don't know.
January 6th, of course.
Oh, that's right.
Yes.
I do remember that now.
The inauspicious start
times.
to Greg Vanney's tenure.
That's an omen, right?
Right?
That
That should have been. Democracy comes crashing down, and Greg Vanney takes over the LA Galaxy on the same day. Cool. Yeah, it was happening in the background while I was on a Zoom call with Greg Vanney.
That was one of the few calls I was actually on. Yeah. I remember that happening simultaneously.
So, anyway, he talked about that, and they wanted to bring in Cristian Pavone. This was even this winter that there was a chance to bring in Cristian Pavone. Again, we knew that Cristian Pavone's contract situation and what was going on at Boca, the whole deal. Now, obviously, the sexual assault charges are what has been holding up this whole thing. And so with the LA Galaxy, they're like, we want to bring back Cristian Pavone, but we can't unless those get cleared. And so there was an expectation that perhaps those would get cleared, which never happened. And so then they had to move away from Cristian Pavone. So then so in the story that was told on Instagram, basically there was a choice then that was made between Gareth Bale and Douglas Costa. The way the story was told to me was that Gareth Bale's name was known sort of to the LA Galaxy, that perhaps they had a chance to sign him, maybe not, and that eventually whenever they were looking at between Gareth Bale and Cristian Pavone, they were like, well, we're going to take Cristian Pavone because he's a well-known, you know what you're getting. That's an easy signing for anybody is to get Cristian Pavone. Gareth Bale wasn't playing. There were some injury things, the whole deal. So you sort of tend to say Cristian Pavone is the correct answer to that.
Well, and also probably price tag. Cristian Pavone was going to be at a lesser price, a proven commodity. You knew what you were getting. I think I would still take Bale, the chance at Bale over Pavone, but I can see the argument where that you can walk away, quote unquote, saying it was a better deal to go after Pavone.
Yeah. And you listen, all these things are up for argument. I don't have a problem with that, to sit there and say, oh, Christian Pavone is the one you're looking. By the way, $2 super chat from Chris, who says Costa better than Bale plus Pavone. Obviously there was a sarcastic smiley face there at the end. I think he was trying to sort of show how it went. So without being able to bring back Pavone because of the charges, and I would imagine in this particular case, they never went back to Bale or that type of thing, at least in the way the story was told to me. They didn't go back to Bale. They just sort of moved on and they went looking for somebody new. They eventually found Costa. They brought Costa in. Kevin Baxter asked Greg Vanney specifically about that and said, was it ever black and white, the difference between Costa and Bale? And Vanney was like, no, that's too simplistic. That's not the way that this ever worked. It was never a direct, one for one. And Vanney even put it out to say Gareth Bale has been offered and sort of kicked around. His name has been kicked around to the LA Galaxy for, a year and a half, right? By different people, by the way, not always the same person, different people. He goes, you never really know if it's true or not. He goes, and by the way, I can name like 30 players that happens, especially here at the LA Galaxy, right? And we know that because we follow so much of this stuff whenever you go, that every rumor ends up being pointed at the LA Galaxy and the whole deal. Vanney snuffed that out today and basically said it was never a choice between Pavone, or never a choice between Bale and
Costa.
And Costa. And when you look at that, I think that's probably closer to the truth. I still think that there may have been a chance in there, at least talking to some people, that perhaps Bale could have been an option. But again, it's like there's been a lot of players who have been rumored to be heading to the LA Galaxy, right? Because there people have said, hey, so this person might be interested. I think with Bale, they sort of threw out a pretty wide net there and tried to sort of figure out. And maybe it was a timing issue because certainly the Galaxy were focused on doing it. Now, I'm not saying in any way that Douglas Costa is a better choice than Gareth Bale if you're comparing those two. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that understanding that the Galaxy are trying to make choices in that, they make the wrong choice in Costa, but I don't think that's related to Gareth Bale.
I think it just stings because of how the Costa deal has played out. I think I made the argument on here that I could see a scenario where Costa could thrive here and kind of revive, his career. I compared it to when Zlatan was coming to the LA Galaxy. He was coming off knee surgery. People were taking a chance on him, but he basically revitalized, showed that he still absolutely had it and was able to go back to AC Milan after that. I said that could have been a possibility. I didn't guarantee it, but I said it could be a thing, and we've seen how that's played out. And I think the fact that there was a possibility for Bale, and you've talked about this a bunch of times also, is that these rumors don't happen and then the deal happens next week. These are conversations and relationships that are built over years, and Bale is a name that was always kind of rumored to the LA Galaxy. So when it happened across town, I was like, man, that feels like an LA Galaxy move. And so I believe, there's no way to confirm this, but I believe in my heart that Bale absolutely had interest in coming to the Galaxy. And it was a timing thing. That DP slot was gone. Greg Vanney wanted someone at the beginning of the season. And hindsight being what it is, you may have been better off not having, a DP at all on the roster and rolling the dice with everyone else and then having Bale come in the summer. It's easy to say that now, but there was also the possibility of, having someone come in and make things happen. So it was a gamble and it didn't work out in their favor. It was a gamble and a loss. It's easy to look back at it now. And it's also something that we need to look over the course of the, Bale has played 3 games, 4 games,
96 minutes, like two games or something like that. Yeah.
He's looked good during that time, but there's no guarantee that he's going to be, an all-star for his entirety of whatever contract is here as well. So we'll see how that works over time. He may end up being the real deal in MLS. I could see Bale doing really well and Costa flaming out. But so it's easy to look back on that deal now. I can see the rationale, but it just stings that it could have been an LA Galaxy deal and the way things have gone out. Yeah.
I mean, lots of things have been, right? I mean, and we see that so many times. So many players have been close to being LA Galaxy players over the years. If you ever get a chance to talk to like Bruce Arena about that stuff, or you get some guys who have been around for a long period of time, They can tell you some stories about some names.
Well, the Ronaldinho one is the craziest one, I think. Yeah.
That Ronaldinho is definitely one of those names that I was thinking about on that. But I mean, another guy who has been linked with the LA Galaxy over a significant amount of time too is like Cristiano Ronaldo, right? So you can't tell me, and I'm sure that Vanney, whenever he said that I can name 30 players, well, yeah. I guarantee Cristiano Ronaldo is one of those players' names. So you look at where that sits. I think that if we're looking at Riqui and how he sits, I think the TAM deal is a relatively low cost, low risk sort of signing for them. I know it's Max TAM. I know it takes up one of those players. He's 20. He's going to be 23 in 2 days. He's 22, 23. You got to think that this has a chance to work out for the Galaxy. And let's talk a little bit about Ryan Rivelson, because Greg Vanney gave us some insight, and he goes, I don't know if this story is well known, and the bottom line is it's not. This is the first time I'd heard this story, but Ryan apparently was iffy on joining the LA Galaxy. He was like, okay, this sounds like a good opportunity, and then was like, but I don't know if I want to leave Europe and go to North America to Major League Soccer, and if that's the place for me to develop. He goes, I don't know if that makes sense for me because, I'm 25, right? And so I can sort of what am I doing in that time? I'm relatively young. I'm coming over. I'm playing in Major League Soccer. He goes, will I ever get back to Europe? And one of the things Greg Vanney sort of said is, it'll be our goal to get you back to Europe. That's what we want to do, is we want you to come play for us. We want you to give it all. And then if there's interest from there, we're going to let you go, right? Like, it's one of those. This is how Bruce Arena was really good at this too, in a different way, which was sort of like, we'll let you go if you want to go. Where do you want to go? We'll make it happen. We're gonna make sure that when you come into our team, that we take care of you, and that means taking care of you on your way out too. We're not just gonna, cut ties and trade you in the middle of the night without telling you after we told you were safe and you just bought a house, AJ De La Garza.
Yeah, while you're having tacos, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, and to that point, this is why Sebastian Lletget ends up at FC Dallas with his BFF Paul Arriola. I'm sure that Bruce, kind of rolled out the red carpet to get him there. But so you're right. When word gets out that this is how your club is run, and I know there's not a lot of good press about how the Galaxy organization is run right now, and we're just talking about some of it, but this is a net positive at the end. And so if Ryan wanted to go back to Europe, he got his wish. He was able to go back
to League One.
League One, yeah. League. So where he was going to go when he got his team promoted. So again, this is going to be top level football. He's going to be playing against, other top level teams. So it's what he wanted. And so at the end of the day, you were able to make a profit off it. You got some benefit. I wouldn't say he got 5-star review looking back at his time with the Galaxy, but he was a, serviceable MLS player for a bit. So when you're able to say we sold a player who wasn't even our best player, and we're able to make money off it, it's a net positive. And you land a Barcelona player at the end of it who's 22 on a TAM deal, because my assumption was, TAM for this year because of so few games, and you promised the DP next season. But if that's not the case, that's even a better deal.
99% sure on that now.
Yeah, feels like a win-win.
Yeah, it does. And I'll say this, there's also a knock to be placed on the LA Galaxy for this, because Greg sort of said, Ryan, we brought him in to be a 6, and he wasn't really a 6, he was more of an 8. Well, that's called scouting, boys and girls, right? You bought an 8 to be your 6, and then he
ended as a striker, chaotic striker, false 9.
False 9.
Right. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. No, I mean, and he was frustrated with that, and that was one of the things that sort of led to all this stuff coming down. So when we look at this, when we look at Ryan, when we look at his time, it's great. The Galaxy did what they needed to do. They got the money. Overall, this is a positive story that you can tell other people that you're bringing in, like Riqui, right? Riqui obviously wants to go back to Europe,
Yeah.
Right? So but you give him 2 years here, and he develops into a world-class player, and maybe the Galaxy can set. Quite honestly,
or Barcelona pulls him back once they go broke. Yeah. With all their financial issues.
Let's go super hyperbole, and let's say rainbows and unicorns from here on out. Riqui is everything that the LA Galaxy thought he was. He's going to develop into a real number 10 in Major League Soccer. He's dangerous. He's deadly. He's clearly a class above everybody else. He works his butt off, and now he's 25 years old. At 25 years old, with the Barcelona pedigree, if Barcelona doesn't buy him back, somebody will pay a lot of money for that. In fact, extreme amounts of money, because of where he grew up, where his academy was, where he was playing. If he is that player that they think he can be,
that's how I see your best case scenario panning out. Is he becomes a Giovinco type who becomes league MVP type guy, a Carlos Hill in New England, just a guy who comes with a little bit of pedigree and just bosses the midfield and shows everyone who's boss. That's best case scenario for Riqui. So we'll see if that works out.
What do you put the chances on that, like, playing out percentage wise? Like if you're going to pie in the sky 100% hit, I mean, for me, it's less than 10%, right? There's like,
really, I feel like
really,
I'd go 25%.
Okay.
Feel like if you put a spinner, I feel like one of those lands best case scenario.
Okay.
1 out of 4.
I'm not disagreeing. I'm just saying that there's levels to that, and so that's why I sort of break it up into like 10%. I could be like, oh well, he could be really good. Maybe he's not going to be MVP, right? Maybe he's not going to be the guy who control. Maybe he's going to be the Galaxy's like second best player, and he's just really good all the time.
I'd love a second best player right now. I feel like
who's the first best player?
We don't have a first best player. Yeah.
So that's something to sort of keep an eye on. Again, I think it's a success story for the Galaxy. They can sell to other people down the road with Ryan, but it also comes at the expense of you guys got an 8 when you should have bought a 6, and you didn't realize that you didn't get that. This is where somebody asked me a little bit, Eric, and they were saying if you look at sort of some of these things that have happened, like how are Bale and Costa and Pavone the only guys in your net, right? And I'm like, well, we never know how big the net is that the LA Galaxy cast, right? Because we don't hear every name that they went out to look at. We don't hear all the 20 names that they had that they whittled down. By the way, I don't want to suggest that they had 20 names. It could very likely be they had 3 names. There was, or 2 names, Costa and Pavone.
Well, yeah. How long have we said this? That, other teams seem to find, the Rui Diaz and the Ladero, these guys who are maybe not the household names, but come in and make a huge impact. We've been saying that the Galaxy haven't found that diamond in the rough. It's what's the name recognition. People know Zlatan. You hear, well, people know Bale, so that's a name that's linked. People know Modric, so that's a name. So that you're right. The net doesn't seem to be to find that development player. It seems to find the superstar, and so that has been a knock. And I think with the Puig move, it almost feels like the best of both worlds, because it is a high profile move because of the club he's coming from, but he's not the, Iniesta or Xavi guy yet. So you're able to kind of bring him as that development guy who could turn into something special. So it feels like it could be, here I am talking myself into it. This is going to be the best of both worlds. He's going to light the world on fire. Why are you doing this to me, Josh?
I don't know. I'm not trying to, all right? I mean, I'm not.
But it could be where this is the sweet spot. You get the name recognition, someone who the footballing world knows, but you also get someone who you can develop and sell on at a later time. They're not going to retire in your league, which has been the knock on MLS to some degree when they do get the superstars. Yeah.
I mean, I think I agree with that. So anyway, that's sort of one of those things that we could take off and we can sort of see how all these things sort of go down. One point was somebody did say was that I feel it's less of a net and more of a spear with the LA Galaxy, and I was like, that doesn't feel wrong either. Like they're just going to pick out one fish every time, and that's how it goes. I wanted to get to some questions that we had. Oh wow, that's not what I wanted at all.
Graphics. Again, if you're not watching the live show, this is one to go back and watch.
It's
so,
just
good times.
It keeps moving my stuff, Eric. Every time I do something, it's
Don't
like
touch my stuff.
It moves it every single time. I don't understand. We normally don't have a problem with this stuff at all. I don't know. I wanted to get to some questions. I'm not even sure that that's possible.
I was gonna say, you can still see the questions.
You can see a question. Let's get to this one real quick, and then we'll try to get to it. I asked some of the guys on Reddit if they had any questions. One is there a chance for Ephra gets sold to another club next year? Yeah, 100%. Right. I mean, I think there's hope in that. Mostly because I think that he has probably peaked in what he can do for the LA Galaxy. And so if you're trying to, sort of gauge whether or not he stays or whether he goes, how much more development does he have in LA, Eric? It feels like that's less than maybe some other guys.
And I think he may have played his hand already also. I think he wants out, and I think he feels like, and this may be one of those, talking about the best of both worlds, I think the Galaxy may say, we can't do much more for you. You can't do much more for us. So maybe you're better off going somewhere else. And Ephra may not develop more here, but maybe he does go to a different club and he is able to grow and develop and, become a household name somewhere else. So I think those rumblings are out there right now that he does want to go elsewhere. I would imagine his agent is making moves and making calls. I've heard, obviously Mexico is the obvious destination where a lot of those rumors are going to go with those Mexican national team ties. But I've heard some, other possibilities in Spain and other things as well. So I'm sure the end is near for the Efrain Alvarez era and the LA Galaxy, just with the writing on the wall, with his unhappiness, with his playing time and kind of the way he's playing, what he's getting under Vanney and maybe the pressure that he's getting here. It just seems like it may be time to move on at the end of the season.
Yeah, very well. The side question basically was, are you surprised that Victor Vasquez spoke highly of the Galaxy? We sort of killed that already. He didn't talk to Riqui and say, hey, come here. So I guess it shouldn't surprise you. But I'll tell you this other thing is that that Victor Vasquez is a Greg Vanney fan. And so he will do stuff, whatever he needs to do to sort of, talk up the coach. And I think that he thinks the world of Greg Vanney and they think the world of each other. So he would speak positively of the LA Galaxy and he would speak positively of Greg Vanney if sort of given the chance on that. Let's see. Let's get to this question. I separated them out in the background. Here's Tega234 and says, my question, do you feel the Galaxy have young talent ready to play now? Seems like the Chivas game opened some eyes. Yes and no. I think that there's guys who should be getting some minutes. I think Johnny Perez should be getting some minutes. I like Adam Saldana. I think that Daniel Aguirre, who's had a knee injury, apparently is on his way back. Greg Vanney said that he'd be back and could be available here. Daniel Aguirre is a guy. I think Jalen Neal can get some minutes. I'd like all of these guys to start getting some minutes in the right situations for these things. I am under no impression, Eric, that perhaps these guys are going to be world beaters. I don't expect that. I don't think anybody should expect that from them. But I think that they have some good guys in some good places, and if that's the case, then I think that the Galaxy could be really good.
I think what it comes down to is you want guys that don't look out of place, and I think with Aguirre coming in, hasn't looked out of place. The team doesn't drop in a level when it comes on the field. I think you saw it even though it was a friendly, when Johnny Perez came in, he was a spark. He made things happen. And so, the quality of the team doesn't go down. You're not risking the quality of play to develop the player. I think you see it with Jalen Neal as well. When he comes in, he looks calm. He looks like a center back. And so if you're able to bring these young players in, you're going to, brass tacks of it all is you're going to bring them in at a cheap price because they're your homegrowns, because they're your younger guys. And then you can fill the other pieces with your, TAM level guys and your superstar guys. And I think that's what you want to look forward to. So you want to give these guys these reps. That way in the future, you can start building your roster out and you have these players in your bank. So you don't have to worry about going and finding these positions. You're creating these positions at home. And I'm sure we're going to transition to the game preview here, but I think we'll find out very soon also, just based on points per game and how few games there are left. If the Galaxy continue their summer slump and it leans into a fall slump, why not? If it's too far out of reach, play the youngsters. Yeah. At what point? I think Matt Doyle put this tier ranking, and one of the fifth tier was start thinking about 2023. If the Galaxy slip out of tier 4, which is where you had them, into tier 5, if you're thinking about next year, then play the youngsters. So we'll see where that goes. I think we'll find out in the next 2 or 3 games.
Let me defend Efrain Alvarez just for a second, and that should sound really weird coming out of my mouth, but I'm going to say it anyway. He has increased his assists. He's increased his ability to affect games from last year in less minutes. So you would say that he's more effective than he was last year in the time that he is given. I was very high on him coming into that SKC game and really settling down a spot that I thought Douglas Costa played horribly. And so I thought Ephra played really well in that spot, and he got a great assist into Chicha, even though everybody thought it was offside, which worked to everybody's advantage, and Chicha ended up scoring. That's it. I just don't know if that progression is enough to be like, he definitely needs to stay. Right. As far as young talent, I don't put him on the list of guys who I'm excited to see anymore because I've seen it. And I don't know that the progression is going to rapidly increase to the steps where he's going to reach where you thought he would, especially for a guy who absolutely only has 1 foot.
Well,
And-
that's the other side of the coin, because I'm with you 100% that Ephra this season is playing better than he has in previous seasons. This has been one of his better seasons with the team. But as many positive moments as he's had an equal number of negative moments where you want to pull your hair out and you want to throw something at the TV after you see him, dribble out of bounds. So while he does have, and it's actually not 100% new with Ephra, but he does things that are spectacular and he does things that make you scratch your head. And so the balance is too far just in the other direction of things that make you upset. And that's not to say that there hasn't been improvement, because there has been improvement. I agree with you that it's been there, but it's just not, you're right. It's not something where you're saying, I don't know why Ephra's not starting. We need to send Costa to the bench and just have Ephra starting every single game, or Cabral or Grand Sur. And those three names that I just said, Costa, Cabral, and Grand Sur, if those guys are not guys that I'm saying you're absolutely starting over those three, the way they're playing this season, then that kind of says all you need to say right there.
I was going to say there was an e-super in our chat room is the most negative person on the history of this planet, but is accurate in that that all the people we mentioned, Ephra, Jalen Neal, I put Marcus Vercranis, even though he's out on loan right now. Adam Saldana, Aguirre, Johnny Perez are all better than Cabral is, for 100%.
I like E-Super. E-Super, it has you need those guys in your locker room.
The most negative person, and he's going to call it realism, and I respect that you think that's realism. That's cool too. I get it, and quite honestly, if you want to be accurate about the LA Galaxy, be negative, because you are going to be correct right now, right? I mean, we've seen this team play and everything else.
What's that new Twitter account? Has the Galaxy been a bad team? It's like, when they're not playing, they can't be a bad team. So,
For 3
right
days,
now.
the Galaxy haven't been a bad team, right? The whole deal. So, anyway, so that's that. Let's get to some of these the points to the playoffs again. I just want to highlight this: 33 total points available, 11 games remaining. We figured the Galaxy need at least 18 points, maybe a little less than that, but let's just say it's 18. Current points, they're at 30, so they need those 18 points to get to 48. That's how it works. They've gotten only 3 points since we started tracking. Lost to Dallas, lost to us, Sporting Kansas City, now get Vancouver and Seattle at home. We get into must-win territory, but they're not, so we're still I'm going to stick. I know you said that it's must-win. And
I was going to say, I tweeted that out in preview. I also have some math if you're ready for it.
What happens if they lose at Vancouver that eliminates them from contention? Because that's what a must-win is. It means you can't. If you don't win, then that's it. You're done.
Yeah, but still, you play the kids. You play the kids, but the math that I did about a month ago once we started this, it was based on the points per game. When you multiply it to how many games left, you're able to get an estimate. Right now, the Galaxy, since last month, their points per game has actually dropped to 1.3.
Yep.
And so with 11 games left, if you do that 1.3, that's 14 or 15 points, 14.3. So on the low end, 14, on the high end, 15. You go best case scenario, 30 plus 15, that's 45. Not good enough. So we know 48 points was like the magic number. I know we've added a team. I'm not putting it past other teams beating each other up and 45 maybe being enough. But I just right now, as projected, the Galaxy are not trending in the right direction with the summer slump. And if they go with their points per games with all the games left, I think they'll miss the playoffs.
Yeah,
they need to outperform.
I will say this: when you win, your points per game goes up. So it would adjust your.
That's the kicker.
Yeah, I know. And if you lose, they go down. It's so you can keep doing it. Only 3 points out of a playoff position right now. And you can say that that's not important. To me, that still is important. That means you're within touch distance. By the way, I included my supporter shield into the 15th place so we could capture the LA Galaxy. Usually, I only do the top half. But just wanted again to put that sort of in a perspective into a way, so that way people could see it. Eastern Conference, we have Philadelphia, and then we get over to the LA Galaxy in the Western Conference. Here is it just 3 points away from Portland and Nashville, 2 points behind Seattle, who they'll get to play. That's a 6-point game, right? Vancouver is tied with them right now. That's a 6-point game. You win 3, you keep 3 from them. That's separation. That separation probably it should be enough to really get you into the above the playoff line. So if you beat Vancouver with some other games that are going on around, there's a good chance you could be popped up against above that playoff line. That's something to sort of say. And so that's what we get whenever we look at the Western Conference. You wanted to look a little bit at the schedule too, right? And so Vancouver, Seattle at home, and then away to New England and Toronto. Again, only 11 games left on this whole thing. We head on over and we see home to Sporting Kansas City, away to Nashville, super difficult game. A home to away to Vancouver, so the same teteam. Yeah, go ahead. What were you going to say?
That's the thing, to get 15 points, that's 5 wins or, some permutations. If you do some draws, then, you'd be maybe 4 wins and 3 draws, something like that, which out of the 11 games, what games are you looking at these and saying, these are our 5 guaranteed wins?
Yeah,
I don't see that. I don't see that.
No.
So then you say, well, maybe we can eke out some points at New England, at Toronto,
Yep.
At Nashville. And it's like, oh, I don't know if I'd bet the house on that either. So
Toronto's looking like they're starting to come alive
trending
too.
in the right direction.
Greg Vanney said today in his press conference, he says the last 10 games of the season, and he was speaking with this 11th one as well, is where you put your positioning in for the playoffs. This is where you figure out whether or not you're a playoff team or not. I guess we're going to find out whether the Galaxy are a playoff team or not.
This is the home stretch right here. Don't peak too soon. Now's the time to peak. We should start peaking. Peak eventually. This is my new quote.
This is it, right? Peak eventually. I like that. I'm gonna use that one. As we go ahead and look at the LA Galaxy taking on the Vancouver Whitecaps coming up this Saturday. It is a 7:08 p.m. kickoff. Oh, there it goes again. 7:08.
It's incredible. Yeah.
It literally just moves. Oh, you're gonna love this. Wait till you see what happened there.
Now we're talking. Again, if you're not watching the live show, you need to watch the live show because that is where the magic happens.
I honestly, I'm about ready to quit today. I think this might be the straw that broke the camel's back. Finally, LA Galaxy versus the Vancouver Whitecaps coming up. Dignity Health Sports Park, Spectrum Sports, and at LAGalaxy.com. August 13th. It's a 7 p.m. kickoff time, not 7:30. So 7 p.m. 7 p.m. TV start time, 7:08 p.m. kickoff time for the LA Galaxy on this particular day. Let's see. Is there anything fun and exciting that you want to know about the Vancouver Whitecaps? I can tell you that they're both tied on 30 points. You look at Vancouver's away record, they have just 2 wins, 9 points total on the road. The LA Galaxy at home have 19 points, the bulk of their points, 6-5-1 versus 2-7-3 for Vancouver on the road. Streaks, the Galaxy have won just 3 of their last 10. Same with Vancouver, 3 of their last 9, but just 2 losses in that time as well. So they have a whole bunch of draws as they sort of sit there. Vancouver, if you didn't watch any of this game or you didn't watch any of the highlights because it's Vancouver and Houston, and why would you watch any of that, right? I mean, that's one of those. It's like why would I watch that particular game? If you're looking at that and saying this was a crazy game because Houston scored in like the 6th minute and it was 1-0 until the 87th minute when Vancouver scored, and then Vancouver scored in stoppage time to win.
92nd. Yeah.
So they scored 2 goals at the end of the game. Very pertinent for how the LA Galaxy may end up playing them. And so for me, watching this Vancouver team, Eric, I'm saying go after them. Make them run, make them turn and face their own goal. I think that as you send numbers forward on Vancouver, their defense melts a little bit. They tend to pull very inside, so you will have room on the outside for width. Not exactly the Galaxy's strong suit, but at the same time, guys like Cabral or Grantier, or if you're going to play Costa, I hope to God Costa plays at the 10 role, because if you put him on one of those wingers and he tucks inside and burns defenders all night again, I'll probably lose my mind. So you sort of put that in. Again, a really big question about whether or not Greg Vanney goes with 2 forwards. He spoke about that today and was sort of like, I think that sometimes we have success with 2 forwards and sometimes we don't, and it depends on a certain type of club. I don't think he wanted to say that. He's going to tell you it's teams that are going to come in and bunker. I don't know that Vancouver will bunker, but I certainly don't see them attacking straight out. They will sit a little bit.
They do have attacking pieces. I have to give a shout out to Lex in the chat. He said if we're not losing by halftime, then we'll win. So just not giving up 3 goals at the half is a success. I don't hate the 4-4-2. Actually, the lineup at SKC, if you just swap Araujo and Edwards, I'm fine with keeping that same lineup. So I think that was Costa. The mistake.
No, Ephra can start for Douglas Costa. Don't put Costa on the wing.
That's fine as well. But I think Edwards will be better at recovering than Gasper was, and not to say that it's been stellar, but I think it'll be better. And Araujo also does a better job at tracking back and making mistakes. They both, Edwards and Araujo, obviously love bombing forward, but they also are pretty quick to get back and to make those saves. So I wouldn't be upset with the 4-4-2. The thing about Vancouver that's interesting is they're playing right now better than their record shows.
Right.
A lot of the Galaxy's current form is slumping, where in the beginning of the season it was not. Where Vancouver, a lot of their losses came early on in their season. They've actually only lost 2 in their last 9, and so there's a lot of draws mixed in there as well, but they're not in the habit of losing a lot of games right now. And they have players like Cavallini, I know, was one of the goal scorers in the last one. Ryan Gauld is another player with some pedigree who plays really well. So Vancouver doesn't have nobodies out there. They have some players. I know Dahome is another guy who's kind of killed the Galaxy in recent years. That was another one of those, pregame. I don't know if you have those screenshots where they give the facts where the Galaxy have just 3 wins in 9 home matches against the Whitecaps. And so 3 wins. 9 times they've played them at home. They've only won 3 times. Again, at home, these are games that you're supposed to win. And so that's kind of the frustrating thing. For whatever reason, in recent years, the Whitecaps coming to Dignity Health Sports Park don't make you feel good if you're a Galaxy fan. So that's the part that makes me nervous. It is kids' night, so they're giving out coloring books. So maybe that'll give you something to do if the Galaxy are down 3 goals at the half.
That's a rough way to sort of handle everything. Yeah. I'll talk about Cavallini. Cavallini apparently suspended on yellow cards. Derek Williams will be suspended on yellow cards. So that's where you're at in terms of suspensions for those 2. So no Derek Williams, which means probably Sega and Nick DePew, possibly a Leardam. Maybe Greg goes to a 3 in the back. He went to 3 in the back against SKC. That didn't work out very well for him in the end. So there's a lot of little ways to sort of try to tweak this and look at this. But if we go to 538, and why shouldn't we go to 538? That's what I say. If we go to 538, we can see that the LA Galaxy. Do you want to say it? You say it, because it's going to be bad luck no matter who says it. So you go ahead and say it. I don't want to be blamed for this.
All right, the LA Galaxy are 57% chance of winning. The Vancouver Whitecaps only a 20% chance of winning, and then a 23% chance for a draw. They have the 4th highest win percentage of the whole MLS slate. It's something like I like to look at with it. So they're not the highest or the second highest. Normally when that happens, they lose, but they're still heavy favorites going into Vancouver. So you should be very nervous once again, because whenever the Galaxy are heavily favored on 538, it goes wrong. Bovada also has the Galaxy at -160, Vancouver at +420. So again, if you don't like the way the Galaxy are playing and you feel like Vancouver is going to come in and stun them, there's a lot of money to be made on that Vancouver win.
Cabral's dad gave us a $2 super chat and says, Chad is toxic, always hating on my handsome son. By the way, a $20 super chat from Alex. Thank you for that, Alex. We certainly appreciate it. If the Galaxy ever leave Dignity Health Sports Park, do you feel they would move closer to the center of LA or move even further out? I'm still like a fan of the old Farmers Field location that was going to be like right at Staples Center.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you this, I don't have an answer for that. I don't know. With who, I don't know who's running the show, and that depends. For me, AEG is all about property, is all about
Correct.
Location, and so I would imagine that they would try to find a place that's in downtown. In order to be able to do that, but you can't guarantee that. Certainly can't. Maybe what if they built it up next to Dodger Stadium?
What if they build a double-decker arena? So you do the second story, right? No one's watched the Lego movie double-decker bunk bed, isn't that?
No, I don't.
Or couch. No,
there actually have been like double-decker. I think in Vegas they were talking about double-decker stadiums and stuff like that, like where there would be a hockey rink down below and then above is like a concert venue and stuff like that. I don't know.
What SoFi is supposed to be. Anyway, to answer Alex's question, I think. To me, I've always been a fan of the stadium not being in downtown LA. I think you're able to find more open just availability, more real estate that you can have a bigger facility like they have with the training grounds. And then you can kind of build, the world is your oyster. You can build whatever you want. When you're going into, downtown LA, there's a lot more restrictions, a lot less space getting in and out of there, parking, traffic. To me, the ease of getting in and out of where the location is now, aside from the fact that, people love to say Carson, but whatever that means, not being in LA. But again, it's for all intents and purposes, it is very much LA, and it's easier to get in and out of. So I was always a fan of that. So if they could find another place like that, where maybe it's not in the middle of the city, but you're able to build a really nice facility, I'm not against that as well. I think what was the Irwindale, right, where the Raiders were going to play? Wasn't that always a place that they had those grounds where they can build a stadium there? Something like that wouldn't be crazy either if you're able to build a really nice facility. I think that's what it comes down to, is where can you build the best facility? Because I think if you have that, LA's a commuter town. You're going to get people commuting and traveling to go to those games. Make it an event.
The Discord was very high on possibly a Long Beach waterfront stadium, like on the water. I see. For me, I almost want a horseshoe. Then, right? Give me a horseshoe and like have an open end that actually like looks out at the Queen Mary, or maybe like that type of thing. Like
I think
right there.
Doesn't Philadelphia Union, isn't their stadium like that where it overlooks
they have an open
a body of
end,
water or a bridge?
Yeah, it looks back towards the bridge over the river right behind them. So the river.
Yeah,
end.
that'd be beautiful. Yeah, that'd be beautiful. Downtown Long Beach in that area there. I don't know where you'd fit a stadium in, but
I don't. Just plop one in. It doesn't matter. Just bulldoze the things over, right?
Just bulldoze things. Yeah, I like it. That's a very Long Beach thing to do,
isn't it? Yeah, that's how we'll rock and roll. I don't know. I think that's it. Do we want to give predictions? Tell me.
Guaranteed to be wrong.
Guaranteed to be wrong. Go ahead.
All right, I'm going with a 1-0 loss. I think I have to go with what my eyes are telling me. There's a multiverse where this is a 3-0, 3-1 bounce back game. The Galaxy get back on track, but nothing this team has shown me. I don't see that happening just based on what the Galaxy have shown me. So this very much could be that, but I could totally see them going in, getting frustrated, not being able to score, and then in the 93rd minute, Vancouver sneaks that goal. And so we talked about it. I teased it on Twitter about this being a must-win game. I think this is a must-win game with an asterisk if they want to control their own destiny. Because I think if they don't win this game, it's against a Western Conference opponent who's even on points, and there's only 11 games left, and there'll be 10 games after this if they lose. Then you're expecting other results to go your way if they don't win this game. I think if you want to still control your own destiny, you have to start beating your Western Conference rivals. And so that's why must-win game with an asterisk if you want to control your – they can still do it. I don't put it against other MLS teams to totally botch it and have the Galaxy stumble into a playoff spot. But I think if they want to control it, it's a must-win game this at home against a lower-level opponent.
Galaxy win 2-0. That's my call. Galaxy, I would like to point out, Galaxy can still finish out the season with 63 points. I would just like to point that out. 11-game winning streak, I guaranteed would get you into the playoff picture. I think you'd be just fine. I love
the optimism.
I think you'd be just fine. I think it was Kelvin Leardam who was talking to us, and he goes, really, man, we just like, and Kelvin's like a super chill vibe, right? Like nothing bothers him. He goes, I think, if we just win 11 or 14 in a row, I think we'll be fine. And he didn't say I think if we just get on a roll in 11 or 14, it's like, oh, you're stringing games together. Okay. Well, that's
a team that hasn't won more than 2 games
under Greg Vanney. Yes. Under Greg Vanney has never won more than 2 games in a row. But honestly, if they win 2 games in a row here, right? They have 2 home games. They beat Vancouver. They beat Seattle.
That's huge.
You're in a much different position. Again, getting these games earlier, and Greg Vanney even talked about the game in hand. He says, we're not counting on that, but he mentioned it, so he is. It's one of those things. And so for me, it's like, okay, I get it. I get where you're coming from with the game in hand, because there is going to be that game in hand. The Galaxy will have to play on an international break, shorthanded. That's not what you want in San Jose. I mean, none of those things are good.
The benefit is that it's against the San Jose team who's, very, very much struggling and at the bottom of the table. So that's the benefit. But like you said, winning one of the next 2 or even getting 4 points out of the next 2 games, that changes their road trip outlook, because then there's not as much pressure on those games. Hey, if you can go out there and get a draw at Nashville, that's a moral victory. If you're able to get a point at New England because you've banked those points at home, that pressure relieves, and that's where it's huge.
Yeah, because you're right. Whenever you're on the road, you want to be playing more loose in terms of, if we can get something here, let's get it. And you want to be free to take the risk to get it. And if you need the points, you can't be free to take the risk to try to win on the road. So I don't know. To me, I still think that the Galaxy, whenever they're playing at the levels that we've seen them, are a very good team. I just haven't seen that. I don't know how that fits in right now without Riqui being available, so you don't know how to fit him in. There's no Ryan that sort of fits in there either. The Galaxy aren't going to be able to play a lineup that they are comfortable with and have played before, especially with Derek Williams being out, all these other things. It's a lot of variables to go in, but at the same time, this team knows each other. They've been around each other for a while. You would think that there would be a way for them to understand what they need to do. I'm really hoping for a Joveljic start. I really want to see Joveljic start and Chicha come in with about 30 minutes left if they need him at all.
I want to see a Joveljic start regardless. If Chicha's out there or not, he needs to start this game.
He scored all of his goals at home. All right. Just
ride that wave. Ride that wave.
He has 9. Chicha has 9. All right. This is where the rubber meets the road. Okay. 18 goals between those two, by the way. That's not horrible. As a matter of fact, the goals the goals in total, whenever you look at it, it's similar to what it was last year now in terms of goal projections.
Which, if you told us, hey, will you take 2 double-digit goal scorers this season? We say that'd be great because that hasn't happened.
Yeah, and there's
recent years.
There's 11 games to get each of those guys one more goal in order to do that. You want Chicha to catch on fire. Maybe the 2 goals helped against Sporting Kansas City.
I think that did help get his mojo back.
All right, I think that about does it. I need to get out of here before the entire computer drives me nuts. So, Eric, why don't you tell people where they can find you, and I'll try to fix the graphics while you're talking.
No, flip me upside down. I want to do my sign-off upside down. Here we go.
I probably could.
All right, as always, you can find me on Twitter at HammerEV. You could also always find me on Instagram at Galaxy Profile. That's Galaxy PROFOUL.
All right, and if you're looking for me on Twitter, it's at JGuesman, JGUESMAN, and of course at Galaxy Podcast. Head on over to cornerofthegalaxy.com for all of our wonderful information. Head on over to YouTube, put some likes, subscribe on our podcast, do all that fun stuff. We'd certainly appreciate the help. All right, for Mr. Eric, the Portuguese Hammer Vieira, I'm Josh Pato Guesman, and you've been listening. Unfortunately, you've been watching Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. Have a great one, everybody.
You've been listening to the Corner of the Galaxy podcast on cornerofthegalaxy.com. You can follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Galaxy Podcast. And be sure to check out and subscribe to iTunes, Stitcher, and Facebook by searching for Corner of the Galaxy. Fans, we thank you for listening, and we ask that you be kind and courteous to your neighbors as you leave the podcast. We thank you for joining us and look forward to seeing you again. Until then, I'm Michael Araujo, and on behalf of the entire Corner of the Galaxy crew, goodbye, everybody.